If people are dieting now more than ever before, then why are nearly 1 in 3 American adults overweight? Dr. Gundry, who's helped thousands lose weight and feel younger and healthier than ever, says most people are not getting enough fat-burning MCTs from their food. MCTs are a special kind of compound that instead of turning into fat when you consume it, turns into ketones, which is a chemical that breaks down the excess fat in your body. So, by getting more MCTs in your diet, you essentially flip a switch that puts your body in caloric bypass mode, which can flush out excess fat and calories. And he's created an easy way for you to activate caloric bypass right at home. It's called MCT Wellness. This powerful blend of fat-flushing MCT powders and antioxidant-rich polyphenols is designed to help you unlock your body's fat-burning, energy-producing potential. What's even better is that it's a delicious drink. I love how incredible it tastes. All you do is add a scoop to water, enjoy, and watch as you start feeling slimmer and more energized. So, if you want to experience a quick, easy, and effective way to melt pounds fast, go to GundryMD.com/energy and order right now to get up to 53% off your regular price order with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's GUNDRYMD.com/energy.
Shop Plato's Closet tax-free August 2nd through 4th for back-to-school styles. We sell the trendy, gently used styles you need to make a difference in the world and in your wallet for back-to-school shopping. Save up to 70% off regular retail prices by choosing recycled styles. Save even more when you shop tax-free this weekend. Make a change that others can respect and repeat. Shop Plato's Closet in North Charleston and West Ashley this year for your back-to-school looks. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The Three Down Greencast is brought to you by Lucky Bastard Distillers, Saskatchewan's premier distillery, and by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, brewed in the heart of Regina. Welcome to the Three Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only Hot Child in the City podcast.
No!
I am Joel Gasson with John Fraser as usual, and I gave him absolutely no warning that was coming. As I just felt like pushing John's buttons to open the show today. I don't really know why.
Thank you.
But
thanks.
I saw your tweet again. I know we've talked about your disdain for this song, and it's recently made me think of if this podcast had any sort of revenue stream that we actually worked for, and we actually monetize this thing. I would probably find a way to pay for the rights to use that song sometimes just to annoy you.
It can't be that expensive, right? Come on, nobody wants... There's a reason it's played on every classic rock station everywhere. It's cheap and it's CanCon and it's just saying the words gets it stuck in my head. And here I thought we had a different open for the show that was going to be a lot of fun, and I was focusing on that. I was looking at numbers and stats, and you fucking hit me with a Hot Child in the City. And yes, I've dropped 2 F-bombs in the opening minute of the show because of that terrible song.
Yeah. So we have a few things we'll get to today. Not a whole bunch, really, quite honestly. Obviously, the Riders coming off a bye week. They will face the Edmonton Elks on Thursday night, likely today by the time you listen to this. Or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully what we're about to talk about today will remain somewhat relevant.
Or it'll be the ultimate edition of the Fraser curse.
I would say even if the Elks win, it remains relevant because one game doesn't really change a whole lot. But anyway.
No, that's fair. We are still looking big picture like we like to do, and alternate realities and multiverses. Another one of my jams.
Mm-hmm. We are going to talk about a thought that has been in my head for a little while now. How I believe the Riders actually benefited from Chris Jones going to the NFL.
Yes.
So we will get into that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the league deciding that they apparently don't really care about Canada Day all that much. Yeah.
That's some genius decision-making.
Yeah. What is always a genius decision-making, though, John, is, of course, our love for house shorts.
Yes, something that you converted me to many years ago and have not given up. So those of you new to the program,
yes.
Joel and I are both famous for any time of the year, be it winter, be it the middle of summer, as soon as we come home, we change into like comfy athletic shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Joel that got me onto this. I used to wear like shorts with a belt, and I used to like, or wear jeans around the house just after work, something more casual. And then you're like, nah. So the first time I came to visit, I'm like, dude, it's cold. Why are you wearing shorts? You're like, they're my house shorts. And so that, I took that.
Was it when you came to visit, or was it the first time I was up there for the spiel?
Oh,
I feel like the time you came to visit that I remember last, I probably was still wearing pants to some degree because I had to drive you to the hockey game in minus 30-degree weather.
Right, but that was the only time you put pants on.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Right, so that might have made it more noticeable. But no, I remember, and the Bonspiel was just... See, in the Bonspiel, you would have been wearing pants most of the time because before Pile of Bones jumped on board with all the beer they gave us, we just kind of hung out at the rink, right? So I think it was one of the times I came down to visit. But irregardless, highly recommended. People that are too sweaty for sweatpants, throw on some shorts when you get home, change your life. So the other day, Lacey's at Costco, and some of the, things that make a house short is the elastic waist and generally the strings to tie things up. So
and a relatively light material.
Yes, a light, comfy material, even though I do have like a slightly thicker pair of house shorts for the winter. There's some Under Armour ones. They're great. So typically what makes a house short, you don't have to wear a belt with it. It's comfortable. It's stretchy. So, when you have one too many beers doing the podcast and you're all bloated, you don't really feel it. So Lacey comes home and she lays down on my bed 2 different pairs of shorts, and they're nice looking shorts. And I noticed they have the little tie-ups, and I said, oh, are these some new house shorts? She goes, no, they're going out shorts. I'm like, but they look like house shorts. So here I am intrigued. I've been told that these are specifically, don't wear them around the house shorts. I said, no, but they're comfy or sexy house shorts, whatever way you want to look at them. So I throw them on, Joel Gasson, and my life has changed. My life has completely changed because now these are my specific going out shorts, but they feel and look like house shorts. They're at Costco. I don't even know which brand makes them. I'd have to look back at the photo I sent you. Hang 10, which would make sense. Comfy vibes, all good. But you throw a little shirt on that hides the elastic band, and all of a sudden you are wearing classy house shorts. And this is not like I've given up like going out in public with Crocs and dirty sweatpants.
I mean, I do admit that I wear my house shorts outside of the house fairly regularly in the summer.
Right, but not
easily
like
walking the dog, going to the grocery store, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right, but not if you and Jenny were going out for a drink, you wouldn't wear house shorts.
Probably not, no.
But now you can. You can have all the comfort of house shorts with some date night shorts, and being as one of my few good physical features is my Phil Mickelson-esque calves, I can really bring the heat now on date night while in comfort. So, A, try house shorts. B, find these Hang 10 shorts if you can at Costco. Life-changing. Life-changing.
I mean, we will always endorse the house short lifestyle, and I think it is a sign of basically, not that we've not used the words given up, but eventually you reach a point in your life where you realize that comfort is far more important than anything else. And, I'm like, I don't know, I'm married, I got a kid now, who do I have to impress when I leave the house? I mean, I don't want to I'm not going to wear like raggedy, dirty stuff on purpose, but yeah, if I'm not going to put on, a quote-unquote nice pair of pants or even a nice pair of shorts, so what?
See, okay, there is like one place, though. There's like 2 places you're allowed to still look raggedy, though.
Okay.
One's the hardware store.
Yeah, I mean, I rarely ever go there, but yeah.
Well, neither do I, but it's like I'm in the middle of like cutting the lawn, and I'm like, the whippersnipper's out of string, and you go and you pick up your string, and everybody in there is
I mean, fair enough, half the contractors come in covered in dust and paint and whatever, right? So.
And most people come in because you're like, oh shit, I forgot part X, Y, or Z, or I need this. So you go in whatever you're wearing. Number 2 is the liquor store. And the reason I say that as well is because the same guy you just ran into at the Co-op hardware store, grabbing that bucket of paint that he's short on, often goes to the liquor store afterwards, still there to grab the beers. Or if you're moving or something, grabbing the beers, always acceptable to look like a hobo when you go into the liquor store. And you work at a liquor store, so I feel like, I feel like in a liquor store, you go in, especially like I know I'm famous for going in after my workday on Friday.
Yeah.
And I'm still in my presentable clothes and Toyota Golf shirt. And you have everywhere from like guy that just finished sanding his deck to girls that are done to the nines about to go out and puke outside of a bar someplace. So it really is the ultimate melting pot and an acceptable place for those. So if you have any other suggestions where you can just be like ratty and throw in whatever other than the hardware store and the liquor store, I would love to hear them. Dave, Jock, Doug, and Granny.
I mean, it would still be an upgrade at Walmart.
Oh. Oh, yeah. That's fair. Walmart, is it acceptable, or do you just is it just graded on a curve? Like you and me showing up.
You walk in there and sort of, because I have like a nicer pair of house shorts and a pair of house shorts that are kind of falling apart a little bit. I think if I showed up in like the nicer house shorts and like this plain white t-shirt I'm wearing, someone would be like, "Oh, you fancy."
I would agree. I like to pull off the Walmart. You need the shorts that have mysterious stains. Perhaps a shirt that also has even more mysterious stains. And somehow, one is too large and one is too small. All at the same time. Oh, and Crocs. Crocs are the ultimate sign that you've given up. You know who hasn't given up?
Who?
I don't know. I was just writing a transition for you.
I thought you were actually asking a question.
Oh, no. I was just, sorry. I still have it in my system from, hosting while you were gone, having a child when I had to carry this with Greg, and the listens went way down and it sounded way shittier than we normally do. So I just still kind of in there. Plus with the technical issues we had, I'm on my third beer already tonight.
Fair enough.
And a glass of wine.
Yeah, I mean, Elks fans may be close to giving up. We don't know. So we will talk about sort of their head coach and general manager and VP of all things football, and whether the Riders are better off without him. And, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the CFL and Canada today. But before that, as usual, John, for the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, what is in the glass this week?
Can't go wrong when it's on sale. Go with the official beer of the podcast, Pile of Bones White IPA. Which big reason why Pile of Bones is expanding is to keep up demand. And speaking of that, exciting exciting news out of the sponsor today. Glad I didn't have to do an ad read there. A merger with Nokomis Craft Ales.
Yeah, them and Nokomis basically merging some business operations. They'll continue to act independently. Pile of Bones will do their thing. Nokomis will do their thing. Just some sort of stuff behind the scenes will kind of work more in cohesion together and hopefully make it easier to get beer on more shelves, essentially.
Yes. Well, I mean, when you're expanding your facility, I think that's probably got something to do with it. But hey, more Nokomis, more Pile of Bones, the better, especially if they keep making oopsies like they did with the Fruit Loop. So, okay, as an aside, beer of the podcast. So last weekend, I'm in small town Saskatchewan. Mostly DDing, but even at that, you got a long shift during the day. You're still sipping a couple beers here and there, keeping it below the 0.04. And I hit a point on our drive back from Engelfeld to Humboldt. I'm like, a liquor store had better be open because I cannot stomach one more industrial beer today. I just hit the point, and I know this sounds bougie AF.
Oh, you fancy.
But I am very fancy. But walking into the Sobeys liquor store, which on Canada Day, unlike the CFL, was open till 11 o'clock at night in Humboldt, grabbing the Fruit Loop sour, which was like where you've been drinking shitty industrial beer the whole day and just taste the sugar in it. To go to the Fruit Loop, game changer. Game changer.
Absolutely. For me, no sugar for me as well. I have a can of me, the Zero Sugar Lucky Bastard Saskatoon Berry Iced Tea. Of course, big thanks to our other sponsors for the hookup there. Just light, it's easy drinking. Every once in a while, you need that mix-up of something that isn't beer. And I think the Saskatoon Berry just adds a nice sort of light flavor to it without it being like too iced tea or too whatever flavor they're trying to put into an iced tea, if you know what I mean.
Right. It's tart. That's the best way to describe it. It's not sweet.
No.
It's tart without being sour, and both sippable and highly crushable. I can tell you the kind of shape I was in at the Riders home opener thanks to those things.
Yeah, we saw you on TV.
Oh, yeah, I was in fine form. I found photos from that night, too, that also show what fine form it is. Put it this way, I was dancing on the party bus with everybody. Might have touched the wrong bum at one point.
Nice.
Yeah, classy man when I'm hammered.
I mean, are you when you're sober?
No, neither that. Classier when I'm soberer?
Maybe. Borderline. Perhaps. I don't know.
I can kind of keep my shit together when I'm sober. The rare occasions that happens. Except during the workday. During the workday, I'm 100% sober, just to clear that up, Darren.
Gotta sell that undercoating, right? So
I do. It's very valuable in Saskatchewan. Warranty is always a great idea, too.
I wonder if the Edmonton Elks wish they got the extended warranty on Chris Jones.
I couldn't tell which direction you were going to go with that. I gave you about 3, and I'm glad you took that one.
Yeah. And I guess they kind of do, because according to 3 Down Nation, he's basically on a series of consecutive 1-year contracts, which basically give them an out every year if they would like. And I guess Chris Jones' history has kind of brought this upon himself because he has a tendency to do a job for a couple of years and then bolt for something else. So right. Edmonton didn't want to be left holding the bag on that one, and don't blame them, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. And they also wanted to make sure his sort of off-field reputation that has been known to follow him, shall we say, should something arise there, they had a pretty easy out that wasn't going to screw their stupid football operations cap.
Right.
And I don't know. I know there's discussions out of Edmonton right now that it's too early, and maybe there are still Chris Jones still has his supporters out there, and that's fine.
Are his supporters the same people that suggest quite constantly on Twitter that they should change the name back?
I haven't seen a whole lot from that specific individual, but there's been some others. And it's mysterious to me. Like, I understand that Chris Jones has been a pretty good coach in this league for a long time.
Yes.
And he certainly earned some leash in some regard for that reason.
Yes. And
I don't think it necessarily even means that this year, in order for him to be safe, the Edmonton Elks had to be, great. There just had to be, sort of a sign, something, is that any sort of rebuild, because we all knew, like his first year with the Riders, it was a complete tear down, and basically the entire year was a training camp to see who may be back the next year.
Right.
And so that was definitely what happened in Edmonton last year as well. But generally speaking, after you do that, you would hope heading into year 2, you would sort of start to see some sort of idea, some sort of plan that the fans can get behind to say, okay, we're not good yet, but X.
Right.
And when it comes to the Edmonton Elks, and I know they're playing the Riders this week, and even if the Elks are to win this game on Thursday night at Mosaic Stadium, I don't think this changes any of it, because 1 game sample size means absolutely nothing to me, and quite frankly, probably if the Elks win, it's because the Riders shot themselves in the foot.
Yes. Or play down to their opponent, which they tend to do in the Craig Dickinson era.
Yeah, which they've been known to do. And right now, I'm just struggling to figure out what exactly the Edmonton Elks' identity is that they can hold themselves to. And it doesn't have to be much. It could literally be anything. It could be either, this quarterback's really good. We do this well offensively. Our defense can do this. Right now, they don't even have a kicker that can kick a 50-yard field goal.
Well, they released
one.
What
is there for Elks fans to be optimistic about where this franchise on the field is going?
As I talked to one of my friends, Adam Brills, who's a diehard Elks fan, it doesn't sound like there's anything. Even in the dark days of Saskatchewan the past few years, you've at least been able to say the defense is really good. They've got Brett Lowther, they've got some consistency there. It just comes down to the offense and some injuries, right? Last year the defense wasn't as good, and things kind of fell off the map. So yeah, I look at that Elks roster, especially with a cursed Cornelius.
Your boy.
Courtesy of my boy. No, I cursed him. Hey, he's starting again. Watch him tear it up. Watch him just run for 150 yards and tear it up.
I mean,
and
if Steve McAdoo is smart, yeah, they'll have him running all over the place because that seems to be when he's at his most effective.
Right, but we've seen firsthand Steve McAdoo in this province, and there's that. So I don't know if there is anything. You look at their roster and the amount of people, like just skimming through it for talking about this, the amount of people you look at, amount of players you look at and go, oh, he's still a thing? You know, it's almost like bizarro Bill Belichick, where Bill Belichick will let a guy go a year before he's past his prime.
Yeah, I mean, John Hufnagel did that to how many guys?
Right. Well, that's exactly it. Hufnagel lets go of a guy. Belichick lets go of these guys. They might have maybe 1.5 good seasons left in them, and then it's just off a cliff. It's like Chris Jones is doing the exact opposite thing. Mm-hmm. You look at
I mean, his defense especially is littered with guys he signed in Saskatchewan 5 years ago.
That's it. And they were good in Saskatchewan 5 years ago.
Absolutely. At the time, they were great signings. 5 years later, if you're still signing the same guys.
Well, and especially, too, for him to just keep signing the same guys after his season-long training camp. That's the other thing. If this was, I get it in year one. In year one, you might want to bring in some veteran guys that you know are good locker room guys or good players that still have some gas in the tank and say, okay, here's how I'm going to run some things. I want you guys to see it. But to bring them back in year two, it's like, well, what the hell? Now, the argument can be made. And I did one of my favorite things, Joel. I built a spreadsheet. It's a very simple spreadsheet, but it's still a spreadsheet. That Chris Jones, you mentioned off the top of the intro, his coaching success. Guys, generally been a decent coach everywhere he's been at. But since adding the titles of like VP football ops, head of popcorn operations, 2-foot hot dog tester, all that, everything he's put on his plate. Chris Jones in his career in the CFL is a 57-51 head coach. Okay? His record, counting to his first year in Saskatchewan in 2016, his record as a head coach, GM, and everything is 31-45, including 0-4 this season, 5-13 his first year in Saskatchewan, 4-14 his first year in Edmonton, combined with a 10-8 and 12-6. So, is it just Mo's clearly mad at something?
Chris Jones might be at the door. The doorbell just rang. So.
I just thought Mo was really on this. But that's the thing. Like you look at this, and he's got his guys, which again 5 years ago, brilliant signings. The guy clearly to some degree can still coach, but as a GM, as a personnel man, he's kind of dog shit. And I would even argue that the 10-8 and 12-6 in Saskatchewan was less so him because they had John Murphy before he started beating up random people, and Jeremy O'Day, who has proven to be at least a decent CFL general manager.
Yeah.
So in the 2 years in Saskatchewan where you went from 5 to 10 to 12, you had other personnel people with you. And this is not a slight to G. Roy Simon, because I think G. Roy's got a great future in the league. He's got no real experience in that Edmonton front office, and it's showing with this terrible patched up roster he's got that even includes such names as Toby Antigua and Josiah St. John.
Yeah, so I mean, it begs the question, when you consider where Edmonton has gone, how sort of this has played out, are the Riders better off that he took that, analyst job or whatever he took with the Cleveland Browns? And I think the answer is yes. I think Chris Jones can still coach football. I think he can still coach defense. But I think we're at a point, again in the CFL, and we've seen this a number of times, and I'm starting to have my questions about how far Dave Dickinson is being spread too now, about guys doing too many jobs in this league. You don't even really see it. You don't see it much in the NFL. I know in the NFL, the head coaches have a lot of power and control over the roster, and the GM is sometimes more of just like a cap guy or different things like that. But there is still more support, in terms of building that roster outside of a guy like Bill Belichick, who's, a man of his own, in his own world, right? There's no one else quite like him, and it's hard. It is hard in today's world to do that, to do all things, and to be good at everything. At a certain point, it's like the Peter principle. At a certain point, and in this case, he promoted himself too high, I think. And yes, yeah. I know some people have said, well, and where was the what success has there been for Chris Jones outside of the year since he's taken on sort of the GM roles? And someone will say, well, they made the East Final and were like one play away from making the Grey Cup that year. Sure, they finished 4th in the West though. So They were 10-8, which is a fine record. There's nothing wrong with that. But I still wouldn't consider that a successful year. It was a good year. It was an okay year. It's not certainly a year that you can hang your hat on as a guy who should be a GM in the league for the next 20 years.
Right. And that's where it goes back to is the Riders' personnel success Jeremy O'Day or was it Chris Jones? And I would like to make the argument that it 100% was Jeremy O'Day. And without that, because let's face it, if Chris Jones stays after 2018, 12-6 team, we know the way that Chris Jones governs.
Yeah.
Jeremy O'Day would be someplace else right now.
Probably. I mean, and John Murphy at some point or another is going to move on because that's what he does.
Right. So
I think his supports around him go along. He has this unwavering support for Stephen McAdoo for whatever reason.
Yes.
He's like I can appreciate that he is loyal to his guys, but he is loyal to his guys to a fault. And there are certain points where you have to cut bait and he hasn't. And so, I think if Chris Jones remains with the team, and it's hard to say for sure, in 2019, when they're hosting the West Final, is that a year? Does that happen under Chris Jones? Maybe. I don't know, but I don't know if the roster builds the same way.
No.
We certainly probably don't see Cody Fajardo as the quarterback in that magical year. They probably try to gut it out with Zach Collaros, and unless he's in Winnipeg, I mean, I don't know if we ever see the current Zach Collaros that we see now. And, this franchise is on a completely different set, and maybe it's not so much, they get the 2-3 good years out of it, and then it sort of falls off a cliff a little bit last year, but they were in perhaps a better position to rebound than they would have been had it been the Chris Jones bottom out.
No, and that's exactly it. I mean, you looked at this Rider team even last year and went, okay, like they're at quarterback, it's no good. Whatever happened, whatever lightning in a bottle Cody Fajardo caught for 2 seasons just completely dissipated in 2022. That was completely gone, right?
Yep.
But you look at the team around him, and I don't think there was a point last year where, we really felt like there was a bottom out. There was still some youth, right? They had gone out, they'd signed some guys that were entering their prime, with a nice mix of veterans. And if Cody doesn't hold on to the ball for 27 seconds every time he gets the football, is this a different conversation we're having about last year, right? But I would agree with you that I would take what the Riders had built even 21-22 and now 23 under Trevor Harris over what the Elks have, because the Elks right now look like a retirement home with no real hope. It reminds me of the Joe Mack Winnipeg days.
Yep.
Where you're like, what the hell are they doing? Like, there's nothing here. Michael Bishop, Stephen LaForce is our starting quarterback. Michael Bishop's our starting quarterback for the 3rd time. Kevin Glenn's back. Like, it seemed like the wheels were spinning, and I don't think they have that with this team. And I would agree with you. I think this would be a very different Riders, because you can essentially say if Chris Jones is on this team, take those 5-6 guys in Edmonton that aren't that good anymore. They're on this Riders roster right now.
Yep.
No matter what. And does that keep other young guys from playing? Jaden Dahlke, for one, who's coming back this weekend, or not this weekend, Thursday night. Because, why play a football game on a weeknight?
No. And I think there's in other ways, I think the organization would have been worse off. I think the off-the-field stuff that the team is known for, had been known for, the community outreach, the, different things that they may do, making guys a little more available, being more around the area, I think that kind of dissipates a little bit. You certainly don't see much of the coaches out. You probably rarely see, like, how if Chris Jones was still here right now, do you see like Trevor Harris out in the community a whole lot? Probably not.
No.
And right now you are. They're doing the autograph signings. They're going places. They're doing things. There's still a long ways to go, but there's been an attempt in the last few years to start to repair some bridges that were just completely annihilated during the Chris Jones era.
Yeah. You never saw players out. You never saw community appearances unless they were put on by the players themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Jones is so singular and focus-minded. And the irony of a certain sports writer, can you still call him that if he's just a curmudgeon on Twitter these days and not writing for anybody, saying that the Elks losing trends have been because, and losing fans and losing connections is because of the name change?
No,
it's because of Chris Jones. Victor is doing a great job, but being held back by his own head coach and his roster. So to me, you build in the community, you get people out, and sprinkle in some winning.
Yep.
And that seems to work.
Like I don't think the average CFL fan or the average person in a city who may attend a CFL game is necessarily looking for a team to be a contender for a Grey Cup every year.
No, but
especially in those months of July and August, if it's nice. And you know what? The Elks are pretty fun this year, or the Riders are pretty fun to watch sometimes. It's a nice day on Saturday. Let's go watch a football game. Even though maybe we're not season ticket holders, we maybe go to one game a year. We don't really watch on TV, but you actually draw those people in when people know they're going to have a good time. And part of having a good time isn't necessarily always knowing that you're going to get a win, but there's a chance you're going to get a win, or that the game is at least going to be entertaining to watch.
Right.
And the Elks have not been offering that up.
No, not at all. And it has nothing to do with the name, and it seems to have everything to do with Chris Jones and this team, which, I mean, if you're a Saskatchewan fan, kind of glad the shit show's coming and it's down to the right time.
Yeah. So this past weekend, there were a couple of entertaining games, and one not so great, but entertaining in a way of Ottawa getting their first win at home in 13 games, I believe. So congratulations for them. And of course, Jeremiah Masoli coming back, so things starting to look up for Ottawa a little bit, which is nice to see as we talk about teams, of course, that are struggling.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there was only 3 games in the CFL this week. And I know a few times a year that just because of the number of bye weeks all the teams get, we get the 3-game weeks because they put 3 teams on a bye, and that's fine. I don't really have a problem with that in general.
Right.
But it was, of course, Canada Day weekend. And in the past, in the not too long ago, the CFL made a really big deal and emphasis about wanting to play on Canada Day and wanting to be a big part of the weekend.
They almost made it like their second Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was starting to reach that crescendo. Like, it wasn't quite there, but it was getting close, especially in the early 2010s.
Like, I remember there was a year... It wasn't too long ago. It was like a weird day. It was like a Saturday, or it was like a Sunday, or maybe even a Monday, when Canada Day fell on and there were no games, and people were like, where's the CFL games?
Right.
And... so to me this year, for them to say, okay, we're going to throw out 3 games on Canada Day weekend. One's going to be Friday night between 2 pretty bad teams. One's going to be on Saturday night between a good team and a pretty good market overall, at least for television and some different things. And then we're going to put arguably 2 of our best teams in the league this year on a Monday night after that. I don't know. And like they were all cross-divisional games too, which are generally sort of the least interested of the CFL games. Like the attendance generally isn't as good when East plays West, and ratings aren't generally as good as when East plays West. Everyone does better across the board when they're playing within their own division. And that's not unique to the CFL by any stretch of the imagination. But I think it is far more dramatic in the CFL than perhaps any other league. Maybe baseball aside. And I don't know. Like, I've heard the reasons. I've heard people saying, TV numbers will do pretty well, and they did. And
they did great.
But, it's also a gate-shivering league, and we're worried about, and, they don't think people are going to come out to the park on Canada Day weekend. It's like, okay, well, in the past they have. I mean, one of the greatest CFL games people ever talk about was played on Canada Day.
Yes.
And I remember Taylor Field, well, I wasn't there. I didn't really follow the league or the team at that time, but from all accounts, Taylor Field was pretty electric that day.
As it tended to be. So the last time, as you were going on, last time the CFL had a Canada Day doubleheader, Joel?
Yeah.
2016.
Okay.
And I remember that because it used to be something that, everybody kind of looked forward to. And
in a number of those years, of course, when Canada Day is on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, don't play.
Yeah.
But
But like, and I get that. Like, unless but even okay, so you're going back and let's call it feasible. Like, I get it. Your last Canada Day doubleheader was in 2016. In 2014 and 15, it fell on Wednesday, Thursday, right? So no, that makes a ton of sense. But I don't understand why you're not putting it out there. And even, yes, it is gate-driven league. And yes, maybe you're worried about losing those people that are at the lake or out of town or visiting family or whatever may be happening. But this weekend proved by the TV numbers that you're going to get eyeballs. And we've talked about it here that I always call the small town Saskatchewan test or the work test, right? Where the conversation, people like to talk football with people that know football. It's the water cooler conversation. And again, as I alluded to earlier, I was in Anglefeld, Saskatchewan this weekend for Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday. And the number one thing people kept bringing up to me, those people you only see once in a while, like, oh, hey, John, how's it going? Hey, why is the CFL not playing games on Canada Day? Like, it was a repeated theme throughout the weekend. So, yeah, are you going to wear it maybe a little bit in terms of your home game? Yeah, okay, maybe.
Maybe, but I mean, the games this week were all in spots that don't necessarily always have the world's strongest attendance.
And they all look pretty good.
They all look decent. I mean, Montreal is hard to read because there was a monsoon before the game. So,
right. And
so
the game
whoever was left, I don't blame whoever left, to be completely honest.
Well, and I mean, the weather was not great the entire night. The game was delayed by an hour and a half. It's not the ideal situation. I mean,
Ottawa looked about the same as their home opener, so there was no concerns there. Montreal will take that as a write-off because of the weather. I don't think they ever announced the number either anyway. And Toronto was about what they always draw anyway. So, I don't know. Now, is this maybe a concern in like Vancouver or Calgary or something? Maybe. But you can strategically put these games in places where attendance is going to be fine.
Or at what point does the league just lean into Canada Day, as they should be, as they used to?
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned the atmosphere at Taylor Field. The number of times since I moved out west that I have been in somebody's backyard for a barbecue or somebody's house on Canada Day watching the Riders. I'm not a Riders fan, but it becomes the event that you base your day around.
Mm-hmm.
What do we all do on Canada Day? We typically have a barbecue someplace. We all typically get together with friends and family, and we all typically watch some fireworks. It's not like you're going up against something that...
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who go to the cabin or they go to the lake or they go camping or they do things like that. But you know what? It's July and August. That's happening every single weekend for the next 8 weeks.
Right.
So if you think this weekend is any different than any other, then maybe this season should just shut down in July and August and start again in September.
Love that. Because you're right. You're right. If it's nice out, it's funny because people ask me, working in the car business and a customer-facing business, it's nice outside. Everybody must be buying. Everybody must be in a buying mood. No, our best days are days that it's kind of shitty outside.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because best days are when it's a long weekend and it's hot.
Right. Naturally. You work in a liquor store, right? But like our best days, you think people summer in a buying mood. That's when they want to buy cars. Also, fun fact, it's never a Christmas. Nobody buys each other a car for Christmas.
But the commercials
are bullshit, and I hate it.
The commercials are just a big ploy by those big bow companies to get a few sales for the commercials.
That's what, because I can tell you, I've seen the cost of our 2 giant bows we have at Toyota, and I'm sure that's what's driving the revenue. But you have a chance to own a day, if not and let's face it, what is one of the best distractors amongst family and friends if things are getting a little awkward?
Yeah.
I'll never forget this. I was actually at a funeral. And there's a whole bunch of family in town, and a whole bunch of that family does not talk to each other. So it was the same night as the Mayweather-McGregor boxing match. So you know what? You're goddamn right. I bought that boxing match because guess what? Everybody came together over a thing. You forgot about the conflict you had going on with whatever aunt or cousin that you've heard about. All of a sudden, everybody's just together watching 2 guys beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Or Floyd dodging over and over again, and McGregor trying to beat the shit out of him. I digress.
Like the thing I can understand the CFL avoiding especially is playing in Toronto on Canada Day, because that Jays game is an event.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
But to me, two things need to happen on Canada Day. One, you avoid Toronto at all costs.
Yeah.
Like you'd have the Argos playing.
The Jays can be complete crap and drawing 10,000 fans a game outside of the home opener and that game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember in the dark days of the Blue Jays when they had those terrible black jerseys and went by the Jays. They 100% were still selling out that game. So to me, you need two things. One, you need the Riders someplace. How the hell do the Riders not play?
Yeah.
I get it if the Riders are firm believers that they don't want to play at home on Canada Day. Fill your boots. You're the league's flagship franchise. You can say that.
Second, at least, yeah.
Right. But they should be playing someplace for the TV draw.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's two teams.
And honestly, if you put them in the right spot, the TV draw and the out-of-town crowd.
Right.
You put them somewhere, the Rider fans in that area maybe then suddenly say, maybe we're not going to go away that weekend because the Riders are in town this year.
Or there's a lot of people that don't go away. We all seem to be forgetting this. There is a ton of people that stay in the city. You mentioned it, that Taylor Field crowd back on Canada Day used to be electric. Because guess what? Everybody's got the day off. It's not just like, who's going out of town? The people that go out of town are guys like you and me that have it pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm the first to admit it. I got it pretty good. You got it pretty good, right? But the guy that maybe doesn't have it quite as good, that's got that day off all of a sudden.
And some people just aren't into going into the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that either.
It's a pain in the ass. I should show you how much shit I had to bring to Humboldt, which is an hour away with 3 kids.
Yeah.
I loved it. We had a great time, but holy crap. Right? So maybe you give an opportunity, same as Labor Day. Why do you think Labor Day is a thing? Labor Day is a thing because Joe Canadian has the day off. He can go to a game. It's not just guys like you and I that have kind of caught a couple bounces and got lucky or in a pretty good spot, right? So that's why I think you need to have these games on these holidays and just say, you know what? Yeah, maybe you're going to lose the guy that's going to drive 5-6 hours from out of town. Yeah. Maybe he's going to sell his tickets.
You promote it right. Maybe you get some other people in the door because then, hey, it's Canada Day. It's nice out. Let's go do something.
And correct promotion is definitely not Kim Mitchell.
Well, I remember it was 2 years ago where they didn't have the Thanksgiving Day game in Montreal, and everyone in Montreal was like, hey, where's the game?
Right.
And this was in the middle of, Montreal kind of being a bit of a down market at the time, and they were asking, where's our Thanksgiving Day game? Like, these things count and these things matter if you keep doing them.
And it's because you don't want to talk to your family that much, so you put on sports and ignore them.
Shop Plato's Closet tax-free August 2nd through 4th for back-to-school styles. We sell the trendy, gently used styles you need to make a difference in the world and in your wallet for back-to-school shopping. Save up to 70% off regular retail prices by choosing recycled styles. Save even more when you shop tax-free this weekend. Make a change that others can respect and repeat. Shop Plato's Closet in North Charleston and West Ashley this year for your back-to-school looks. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.